We are just 4 days away from the federal election. Canadians will be casting ballots in a critical moment for this country as it faces economic uncertainty over Donald Trump's tariffs. Now, polls suggest the race is tightening, but that may still not bode well for the Conservatives because seat distribution is key. And joining me to discuss all this is Conservative strategist Jeff Rutledge, Shanice Scott, who once worked at Queen's Park with the Liberal Party, and NDP strategist Marion Nader, who is joining us via Zoom. And Jeff, we're going to start with you. So what are your thoughts on the polls? Now, we also know that getting out the vote is critical, but the polls do suggest that the Liberals have Ontario, particularly the 905, and Quebec. You need those seats to win. And the polls are suggesting that the Liberals have them. Do you believe those polls?
I think it's a challenge, certainly for the Conservatives, to be able to find a path to victory without an effective ground game. And I think, when we look at the polls and we see the tightening, certainly as you've mentioned, you have to have efficiency of vote. You have to be able to carry some of the important seats. And so, if you're looking at, Alberta and Saskatchewan and Manitoba, where you see the Conservatives in a significant lead there, that doesn't necessarily convert into government territory. And so they have to be able to punch in effectively into the 905, the GTA, Quebec, and secure some of those toss-up seats in BC at the moment. So there is a path. It's going to take a strong ground game.
But it's a hard one.
Absolutely.
It's a more challenging path. Shanice, do you think that Conservatives did enough to try and win votes above and beyond their base?
Truthfully, no. I think the Conservatives were very focused on pulling out the vote that they always pull out, but they needed to make inroads in Ontario and Quebec. Ontario is a very different province than it's once been. You can see that by the kind of leader they elect. If you look at Doug Ford, that's the type of Conservative Ontarians want. That's the type of Conservative. A soft Conservative.
A lot of people say he's not a real Conservative. Conservatives say he's not a real Conservative.
I mean, yeah, that's up for debate for Conservatives, but I feel like that, just look at the election result. I think that is the style, people who, he's been strong. He's shown Donald Trump what it means to be really like Captain Canada, right? And I think Carney also falls into that role. I don't think Pierre kind of made it there, and I think that's what lacks in Ontario.
Marion, let's talk about the NDP. One of the reasons the Liberals are doing well is because the NDP boat has been crumbling. What are your thoughts on that, and can Jagmeet Singh survive this?
Well, I mean, clearly this is a very, very tough election. I think if this election was held 4 months ago, it would be a completely different story. And even if Donald Trump actually wasn't even president, we'd have the polls would be very different right now.
Definitely.
Clearly, obviously, Jagmeet, he's not the front runner. He is a fighter. And I think what his strategy is, especially throughout the campaign, but more now, is focus on the local campaigns, the incumbents, reelect those that were, already in parliament, because saying, it is not good to have a majority government. We see how that's happened because we can't have a government that goes unchecked, that is now going to go up against Donald Trump because, negotiations in the back room, you can't deregulate or cut corners and carve up Canada in a way that doesn't make us Canadian anymore. And I think for Jagmeet and the NDP, the important thing is to say that they are the only ones that will stand up for things that matter to Canada and that make us Canadian, like our public water, public health care.
But Marion, polls are suggesting Jagmeet may lose his seat. Will he have a future after this election?
Well, we'll see. To be honest, I'm not a big believer in polls. I mean, they say the same thing with the NDP in the provincial election. They said the leader, Marit Stiles, wasn't going to keep her seat. They also said that they were going to lose party status. She kept her seat, and they're the official opposition. So the thing is, the NDP strategy.
Jeff Rutledge, let's talk about Pierre Poilievre's seat, because the Globe and Mail came out with a story yesterday saying he's in real jeopardy and it's a neck and neck, which is kind of surprising for many people. I know the demographics have changed, but are you concerned that he could not only, he did lose, at least for a while, that massive lead and may lose his seat? I mean, could he survive this?
I think Mr. Poilievre will be fine at the end of the day in his riding. I mean, campaigns love drama, and nothing like a headline like that to drive drama and conversation during a campaign period, especially in advance of Election Day. I think his team knows it's important, again, like every other riding in this country. You have to get your supporters out to the polls. We saw a significant increase in advance polls, which I think bodes well for the Conservatives. But,
why do you think that it bodes better for the Conservatives than the Liberals? polls in this case?
So historically, Conservatives have been very effective at getting their supporters out to those advanced polls. It's a really great way of being able to extend campaign resources and create efficiencies. So on election day, you can focus on the people that are the stragglers that haven't gotten out in time and focus your volunteer work. It is a really great tool for Conservatives, and they've proven their ability to utilize it well.
Shanice, how would you rate Mark Carney? Never run before, fairly new to most Canadians. How would you rate his performance? Do you think he's done enough to win over voters? Or is it just his creds that have gotten to him to this point?
I truly think the creds are doing a heavy lift, but I do think Mark Carney is doing the right things to appeal to voters. He's meeting them in a time of crisis and showing them a path forward. He's being that strong leader that I think they've been looking for. And I think they're aligning behind him, and I think they're rallying behind this kind of, Canada first, Canada strong approach. And I think we're going to see that into what the election results are.
Marion, your thoughts on Poilievre and how he's done, and Carney and how he's fared in this campaign?
Well, it's interesting because I think Carney actually has sold Canadians on his resume, but with very little details on what it is he has to do. Poilievre really had a hard time in this campaign pivoting, because for 2 years they've been really focusing on going up against Justin Trudeau and the carbon tax. So they sort of came late to the game on what the ballot question is. And I think, for those two, people need to realize that really Carney and Poilievre are very similar. They really lean hard to the right, which does hopefully leave some bandwidth or some room for Jagmeet to be the real, sort of progressive vote. But what he needs to do is really the last couple of days is to get people, identify those votes and get them out to vote on election night.
All right, I want to thank the three of you very much. We're all political junkies here. We'll finally get some sleep after this is over. But again, election night is just this Monday. And thank you very much. And we'll have lots to talk about after Election Day.